Fasten your seatbelts for the realest Eagles and Sixers YouTuber! One who plays no clickbait and gets to the point! The myth, the legend, Nicky Steves! Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keep sticks real. I'm simply statue, think they slate, dropping unrealistic mad 2K takes for the clip. Even though cats like that get views closer to the milli, never hear me preach, LeBron to Philly. Before you watch the Eagles all the way through the early 22, authentic talk, forget what others do. Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keep sticks real. The 24/7, 365 way. Sports content for the reals that feel the day. Good morning, folks. It is Tuesday, September 2nd. It is 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Technically 1 minute shy, but we say it's 11:30. And that means it's time for the 3-Point Blitz, episode 24. One episode away from 25. We're rolling with this thing. We've been going through with it since March. And here we are now with the episode 24. That's right, folks. And we're just 2 days away from the official start of the NFL season. On Thursday night, where my team, the defending Super Bowl champ, Philadelphia Eagles, lift their second Lombardi Trophy banner at Lincoln Financial Field against their heated division rival, the Dallas Cowboys, Thursday night. But with it being football season, not only are we going to be talking about football in the 3-Point Blitz, also every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, exclusively on the Hardcore Sports Network, your boys hosting. NFL season is right around the corner, which means the return of NFL Pick'ems exclusively on the Hardcore Sports Network is back. This year, your boy Nicky Steves is going to be the host again. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, starting September 2nd to preview Week 1. Each week on the Pick'ems, we'll have a full list of games, special guests, injury reports, debates, predictions, and hot takes for the week. All on NFL Pick'ems, exclusively on the Hardcore Sports Network, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Tuesday throughout the NFL season. That's right, folks. So starting tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, exclusively on the Hardcore Sports Network, I'll be hosting NFL Pick'ems. But now, here we are doing this thing on my channel and the Nicky Steves and the Hardcore Sports Network. So we got the link to both of them in the chat. You guys can come through if you haven't done so yet. And yep, we've read now. That being said, though, we're about ready to begin this thing. Here we are. We got the 3-Point Blitz starting. We're fresh off Week 1 of college football, getting ready for the NFL. I will talk a little bit about college football from time to time. You guys see I did a few YouTube shorts. One about Ohio State beating Texas and Arch Manning not having himself a solid day. I did another right there. I just did that. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about what happened last night. We had the big game Monday night, Labor Day, college football on. We had TCU versus North Carolina. In that game, TCU obliterated North Carolina by a score of 48-10. And this was a big primetime game because North Carolina's football head coach is former 6-time Super Bowl champion as a head coach, in the NFL, former 2-time Super Bowl champion as a defensive coordinator in the NFL, overall 8-time Super Bowl champion as a coach, Mr. Bill Belichick, now the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. And this has been, and I've been looking around social media to see what people are going to say. I kind of knew what they were going to say, especially based off the way the Tar Heels got demolished by TCU. They had nothing going. Nothing was in sync for them. They were absolutely awful in the game. They couldn't get anything going at all. So and then also the narratives were coming up. It's been something that's been going on for years, especially since 2020, since that COVID season when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went on to win a Super Bowl with Tom Brady, while the Patriots went 7-9, toying between Jarrett Stidham and Cam Newton as their quarterbacks. And then the narrative started to form right then and there that is still going on to this day. The narratives that Brady made Belichick. It's all Tom Brady who made Bill Belichick's legacy. And I understand as of today, September 2nd, it's easy to throw that out there. It's easy to throw that hot garbage out there saying that, yeah, I told you it was Brady. It was Brady all along. You see what Belichick's doing. He's at college. He can't coach there. And let's set the record straight. Wow, Belichick's team had an awful performance with North Carolina going against TCU. You got to keep a couple things in mind. Number one, you're talking about a Bill Belichick, mind you, who went from coaching professionals at the NFL level for the longest time, for 2 decades, mind you. He was there from 2000. First, he was there in the early to mid 90s with the Cleveland Browns as the head coach. Not to mention his time as the defensive coordinator. And now here you are talking about he was with the New England Patriots for over 20 years as a head coach. And now here he is going to North Carolina as the head coach for a college team. He's never been a head coach at the college level in his life, remind you. He spent all those years between being a defensive coordinator and being a head coach at the NFL level since the 80s, mind you. So that's, 4 decades being a coach at the NFL level between coordinator and head coach. Now he's coaching college. Mind you, you're way different between coaching amateurs at the college level versus coaching professionals. Belichick's used to coaching professionals. Now you're bringing him to the college level. In his very first game, expecting him to make those adjustments. Mind you, in college, they don't have preseason to get acclimated. And you're talking about a coach who's not familiar with coaching college before. So obviously, the first game there's going to be some bumps in the road. It's pretty much the equivalent to coaching an expansion team considering the circumstances, because it's kind of similar in regards to where an expansion team, it's your first time together, your first time coaching the core. It's similar in that regard for Belichick. You're coaching college, which is a much different game than the pros. You're going from what you've been used to 4 decades of your life, now coaching a different kind of football. Obviously, the first game is going to be tough. There's going to be some bumps in the road. You're obviously going to struggle that very first game. So I'm not going to be too hard on North Carolina for that embarrassing performance last night, because you got to remember, it's Belichick's first game as a college coach, much different than coaching professionals. And now for the people that want to joke about Tom Brady, I get it. Hello, Blaze. What is up? Thanks for stopping by. I hope you're having a great morning. We're out here chilling, enjoying this warm weather, talking some football, talking about the idiotic people that are going to now use this as an excuse to say that Brady made Belichick. Please, don't even get me started. Like I was saying, you're talking about a guy in Belichick who's coached 4 decades at the professional level, now trying to coach college kids. It's much different. You really expect the first game, everything's going to click? Definitely not going to happen the first game, especially with no preseason, meaning no real practice games to get acclimated. Obviously, that first game, you're going to have to go out there and just whatever happens, then make adjustments from there. It's said, in some ways, it's like coaching an expansion team. The very first game, there's obviously going to be struggles because it's your first time with the core, first time for the coach and the players working together, going against more experienced teams. That's kind of what it was like in some regard. Now, if we're talking by October or November, North Carolina's terrible, then maybe there's more validity to that point. But we still got to wait and see how it plays out the remainder of the month, October into November. And now this is where I get into the narratives that are going to start about how Brady made Belichick. Don't even get me started on that. Let's set the record clear. Both sides played a key role in the success, all right? And using Belichick's first college game to make this about him and Tom Brady's relationship, player-coach relationship, is so stupid, because you're talking about a player-coach relationship from the NFL level to coaching at the college level, 2 entirely different ball games. That's why a lot of players and a lot of coaches that are successful at one level don't pan out the other. Usually that being college coaches that try to go to the NFL, like you guys like Steve Spurrier or Urban Meyer, don't pan out there, or even Nick Saban with Miami, because they're way out of their element. They try to adjust, but what worked in one environment doesn't work here. With Belichick, you're only talking about his first game in the opposite environment. But don't use that as an excuse to say that, oh, this is why Tom Brady made Belichick. You're talking about the NFL. Much different story. And while we're still on that subject, set the record straight. Both sides played a key role in their success. Now, I do believe the later years of the Brady-Belichick era had a lot more to do with Brady than Belichick, especially the late 2010s, because you saw when Brady went to Tampa, Belichick had a lot of the key pieces he drafted from those late 2010s New England teams, and they struggled. But Tom Brady went on to a new team and excelled in Tampa, winning the Super Bowl his very first year and getting them back to the playoffs, the number 2 seed the second year, nearly pulling off a comeback against the eventual Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams in the divisional round that second season. Then by year 3, Brady's best years were behind him, and you saw the wheels fall off the wagon. But yes, so the point I'm getting at is I do agree that the later years had more to do with Tom Brady. But you got to realize, remember, those early years in New England, their defense was the strongest point of their team. With those guys, Willie McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi, Rodney Harrison, Ty Law, young Asante Samuel Sr., that mostly had to do with the loaded defense they had. Now, the offense was good, don't get me wrong, but if you're comparing Tom Brady individually in his earlier years versus later years, he played better in his later years, statistically, particularly in New England. Like the 2010s, statistically was better. Brady's like really first great season was that 2007 season with that imperfect 18-1 campaign. And then you saw after that, just Brady had a lot of great statistical seasons. So early on, a lot of those Super Bowl wins had more to do with the defense, which was led by Bill Belichick, who led one of the greatest defenses in NFL history with the Giants, with Lawrence Taylor as a defensive coordinator for their 2 Super Bowl wins in the 1986-1990 seasons, respectively. So I feel like those early years had more to do with Belichick's defensive philosophy. Not that Brady didn't get credit. Not that he didn't contribute. He certainly did. As well as Adam Vinatieri, too, made some clutch kicks for them in the early stages of their dynasty. So I feel like the early stages had more to do with Belichick, while Brady pulled his weight. Then as the years went along, Belichick became the GM. He made a lot of questionable draft decisions. Tom Brady's greatness helped them out significantly in the later years of their relationship. But both sides play a significant role in their success. So don't even get me started on that whole thing that it was just Brady. That's not true at all. You really think Bill Belichick being there didn't sharpen up that defense? Like I said, with Bruschi, McGinnis, Law, Samuel, Harrison, in those years, it certainly played a role. You don't think a guy like a Gerard Mayo, who was a good fit for them on the field, maybe not a great player, but he was an excellent role player for the Patriots. You don't think Gerard Mayo, you don't think Belichick played a key role in molding him as a player? He certainly did. So a lot of those guys, look, Bill Belichick certainly deserves credit. He certainly played a key role in putting that team together. He was the one that was willing to take chances on players like Randy Moss, who had burned bridges in Minnesota, and then with the Raiders, where a lot of teams were a bit hesitant. They thought he was going to be on the downside of his career. Belichick took the chance on Moss, brought him in, and Moss fit in perfectly with the Patriots. You don't think Bill Belichick played a role in that? Obviously, Brady did as well, being a great quarterback, but Belichick played a key role in that too. Even with some of the cheating they did, obviously that had Belichick's name in it. Now, that's the downside of their dynasty years. That's the red flag that a lot of people are going to point to. But the good and the bad during their successful years did have a lot to do with Belichick, not just Tom Brady. So both sides played a key role in their success in the dynasty. So don't get me started on that. Because, I mean, this has been going on for years, this false narratives that Brady made Belichick. And there was even a Dark Side of Football documentary on Vice TV. They did a little series in 2021. They had about 6 or 7 episodes. They talked about the Raiders always being the quote-unquote problem child team. But the Browns not always winning. But one of the main episodes was about Belichick, the dark art of Belichick. I felt like while they did talk about Spygate and some of the questionable and shady coaching methods, it was all one-sided portrayal, especially toward the end where they talk about how Brady went on to win a Super Bowl and Belichick struggled with 7-9. They kind of got a little one-sided the way they portrayed it. They made it seem like Tom Brady was the credit for all their success. So this has been going around for years, this kind of false narrative. So that's why I wanted to come on here and rant about it, because particularly what got me to want to rant about was I saw a meme on Twitter/X, a Photoshop photo of Tom Brady in a Tar Heels jersey with the caption, "This is what Belichick needs to save him." And like I said minutes ago, you're talking about one game, folks. Let's see where North Carolina's football team's at late September going into October. Then or let's see where they're at late October, November. Then we'll talk about it more. But enough with the narratives. Now, to give credit to quote Shannon Sharp, he once made a quote Undisputed talking about the late years of Belichick, saying that Tom Brady was the great eraser in those later years. Because especially once Brady was gone, a lot of those draft picks didn't play as well, and the team struggled. Yes, that is true. There were a lot of questionable draft picks in those later years. And Tom Brady played a key role in keeping that team together. It's obvious there. So I'll give you that. Later years had more to do with Brady, but both sides played a key role in the success. Let's just put it at that. Let's move on. We got a big trade go on in the NFL world with the Packers and Cowboys. I talked about it a little bit. This is going to be my final reflection on it before we officially move on, because I've had at least 4 to 5 days to think about it now. And I saw some people compare, particularly from the Cowboys side, compare this to the Herschel Walker trade. That almost made my rant of the week, but then all the BS narratives about Belichick made that my rant of the week instead. We'll just say this. The Parsons trade is not like the Herschel Walker trade for the Cowboys. Here's the biggest difference. The Herschel Walker trade came when the Cowboys were awful. It came mid-season. They knew, like, okay, look, we're not going anywhere this year. Minnesota's offering us future draft picks. Let's take those draft picks. Let's build for our future. We can afford to sacrifice Herschel Walker for the remainder of the season. And that's what they did. One of those first picks they got out of it ended up being Emmitt Smith, for example. So obviously that paid off in the long term. And it was a blessing in disguise. But here with Micah Parsons, you're still a decent team. They still had a respectable season last year. They didn't win anything big, but they still were competitive and were in the mix till December. And now you are getting rid of your best player on defense after having already decided not to bring back Eric Kendricks, who was one of your better pieces last year, losing DeMarcus Lawrence to Seattle. And now you're trading Micah Parsons to the Packers, a team that over the past decade has knocked you out of the playoffs twice. Not to mention they knocked you out of the playoffs in 2014 with the Dez Bryant catch. So that's three. Well, actually, that's what, 4 times post Super Bowl 30 you've gotten beat by the Packers. You got beat in 96, and the Packers went on to win the Super Bowl. 2014, 2016, and 2023. And it's fun. Yeah, that's crazy right there. And it goes to show you right here that Jerry Jones is completely out of touch. He doesn't know how to successfully run a team anymore, which for us as Eagles fans, that's great. From our bias standpoint, we get to laugh at the Cowboys. Now, one thing, hey, all of us Giants, Eagles, Commanders fans have in common is we all laughed at the trade. And some people even think now that the Giants might pass the Cowboys and might be third. Cowboys might be last in the division. We'll see about that. But for the Cowboys, this is not good. Sure, they're getting a few extra picks out of it, but you're a team that's already got some concerns on the offensive side of the ball. Even if you use those picks to rebuild the defense, you still got to make sure you get the right players. And it might take a few years to get it done. And by that, and here's the thing, Dak's been in the NFL, since 2016? This is going to be his 10th season in the league. He's not getting any younger. So it's not like the Herschel Walker situation where you had a young Troy Aikman to build around. You have a Dak Prescott who's coming off a major injury. This being the second major injury of his career. in his 30s, mind you. You don't know how much longer you're going to have with Dak, or you don't know how much longer his peak's going to be. Are you really going to keep riding the fence with him? And you're giving up your best defensive players who gave you a chance last year, going with, like I said, a 30-something-year-old Dak who you don't know how much longer he's left. That's not good for the Cowboys long term, even with those extra picks. Because by the time you make those picks and by the time the players you pick develop, Dak might be out the door. And then what are you going to do at quarterback? So this ain't really going to help you in the long haul. So that's bad for the Cowboys. Now for the Packers, you're going to have a loaded defense this year. You got Jair Alexander, Micah Parsons, and who's the other guy on the line that made I'm trying to remember his name. Who was it? Because now you have a great defense. Now with Parsons in the mix, who was it? You got Jair Alexander. You got, who was it? You just traded away. Who was it? I'm trying to remember. It was one of their defensive tackles, guys. You got Parsons now in the mix, but they could be an excellent defense. You got Rashawn Gary. That's who it is. It's Rashawn Gary's on that team as well. So now you got a really good defense going. A defense that was even able to keep the eventual Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles in check during the wild card round. And I'm going to say this even as an Eagles fan. If Jordan Love had played better in that game, they might have beaten us. Because their defense did a pretty solid job containing us and keeping us from lighting up the scoreboard like we did in the conference championship and the Super Bowl. So I got to give the Green Bay Packers defense credit. They actually did pretty solid against us when it mattered most. And now you're bringing in Micah Parsons on what was a really good defense. But the question is now for the Packers, what about their offense? Particularly, what about Jordan Love? I mean, he's got himself a pretty decent cast of receivers that can make some plays. And you got Josh Jacobs, one of a top 5 running back in the NFL currently. If Jordan Love can tone down the interceptions and throw more touchdowns, this team could be balling out. This team could be dominant. This team might be able to compete against Minnesota and Detroit, maybe even win a game or two against one or both of those teams if Jordan Love improves. So there's at least potential for the Packers to get better in this case out of it. But the key question is, what does Jordan Love do? But there is at least a lot more potential upside for the Packers, even with having to give up Kenny Clark and a few future picks to the Cowboys. You're getting Micah Parsons on a really good defense. You just got to hope Jordan Love takes that next step. And that's where it's at as far as the Packers go. So with the Packers, at least I see some potential with this. For the Cowboys, good luck. And we're coming into the link with all our guys healthy. Don't be surprised. I mean, maybe what I could see realistically happen with the Eagles is maybe first half, it takes a little bit of time to shake off that rust from the preseason from our guys sitting. But then by the second half, I could see all of a sudden Saquon, AJ Smitty, Hurts, Goddard and company going off against that Cowboys defense, and we start rolling up points against them in that second half. But we just going to have to wait and see on that one. But the point is, Cowboys defense will not be at full strength going into this one. And with that being, so we will see. But, hey, we still got week 1. But hey, it's week 1. We'll see what happens. But what we're going to do right now is I'm going to take a real short break. We'll be right back. And then after that, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the NFL skin, who I think has, I'm going to give my predictions where I see each team's at standing-wise at the end of the season. Then we're going to talk about the big storyline for each game going into week 1 for a little bit. So stay tuned. Your boy will be right back. Good afternoon. Hello, folks. I'm back. Your boy's back. Now, we're here to talk a little bit about the NFL. Give me my predictions of what I think's going to happen this season, who I think's going to do what. So, with that being said, we're going to get right into it. So, with that being said, let's start off. I'm going to give you my NFL prediction. It's my standing prediction. It's not necessarily going to be a team record winning loss, but who I see winning the division, second, third, and last place in each division. We're going to start off first with the NFC East. I got the Eagles winning again, Commanders finishing second. Still got the Cowboys coming in third, Giants coming in last, maybe as a tie, because the Giants do have a hard schedule this season. So I don't necessarily think this is going to translate over into winning football. Maybe as the season goes along, you'll see them play better, but I don't know about winning quite yet. So for the NFC South, I still got the Bucs winning the division, Falcons second. Could maybe see the Panthers. I'm going to go with a wild card take. Panthers third, Saints dead last. And then for the NFC North, I got Lions finishing first. I got the Vikings. I got the Packers going second, Vikings third, Bears last. Then the NFC West, I got the 49ers staying healthy with an easy schedule, winning the division. Rams second, Seahawks third, Cardinals last. That's in the NFC. In the AFC, starting with the AFC East, I got the Bills winning that division yet again. I got the Dolphins in second. Got the Jets third, Patriots last. Actually, I got Patriots third, Jets last. And then moving on to the AFC North, I got Ravens first, Steelers second, Bengals third, Browns last. Bengals have one of the tougher schedules with the crappy defense. It's going to be more of the same as last year from the Bengals. Then moving on to the AFC South. I got Texans winning it again. I got Colts second, Jaguars third, and then Titans dead last. And then AFC West, I got, of course, Kansas City Chiefs winning division again. I got the Broncos actually finishing in second, Chargers third, and then Raiders last. So those are my standing predictions right there. Now, to close this bad boy out, we're going to talk about
NFL Week 1. I'm going to look at each game and give you what I think is the most intriguing storyline going into this one. Eagles versus Cowboys. Eagles lifting the banner to celebrate their second Super Bowl win. Cowboys looking to play spoiler and prove that trading Parsons wasn't wrong. That's going to be the main storyline. Chiefs versus Chargers. Can Justin Herbert finally get a big win against a team over 500? Or a top-tier team, I should say, because it's still only week 1. But usually against top-tier teams and teams over 500, the Chargers don't find ways to win. So I think that's the big storyline. Can Justin Herbert finally win a big game as a starter against the Kansas City team coming into week 1 with most of their key pieces? Dolphins versus Colts. The key storyline for that one is, can the Colts find ways to win this game? Can the Colts find a way to win this game? Key storyline kind of difficult because I think it's I'll say the key storyline for this one's how the Dolphins play at full strength and what can the Colts do with Daniel Jones? How will Daniel Jones fare behind that Colts team? Will he fare better or will he look more of the same? Steelers versus Jets. Aaron Rodgers' revenge story. Next. Panthers versus Jaguars. Which struggling team will look more in sync week 1? Will Bryce Young year 3 look more in sync, or will the Jaguars look more in sync? And then you got the Saints versus the Cardinals. This one right here, I got the Saints versus the Cardinals. This key storyline is, how does Kyler Murray and the Cardinals look on an easy schedule? And what are the Saints going to do? Giants versus Commanders. How does year 2 start off for Jaden Daniels? Will Jackson Dart get any playing time, either due to Russell Wilson getting benched? We'll see. And the next one is Falcons versus Bucks. The Falcons versus the Bucks one right here is, key storyline is, what does Michael Penix Jr. do? How's he going to fare against the team that's been holding that division hostage, figuratively, since 2020? Browns versus Bengals. How will Joe Flacco fare against the Bengals defense? And how will Joe Burrow do offensively? And how much will he torch the Browns? Patriots versus Raiders. What is Pete Carroll with his new team versus Mike Vrabel with his new team? Who starts off hot? Then you have 49ers versus Seahawks. Key storylines, how are the 49ers going to look back fully healthy? And what are the Seahawks going to do without their gun? And you got Titans versus Broncos. You got in this one, the key storyline for this one is, what do the Titans do? Cam Ward, does he fare well in his debut? Does he look solid? First, is Cam Ward actually going to be the starter for them? I think so, but you got to start Cam Ward. Because I feel like, let me just double check to make sure first. Yep, Cam Ward will start, which I figured. But, that's what I said. But, key storyline is, how is Cam Ward going to fare in his opening game? I don't think it's going to be so great going against the Denver Broncos team who's fresh off a playoff appearance. While they didn't have a great season, they had a solid season. I don't think that's going to be a great start for Cam Ward as far as being a confidence booster, but we got to wait and see. Then moving right along to the next one. And then you got Detroit and Green Bay. Key storylines, how does that new Packers defense look going against that loaded Detroit Lions offense with Micah Parsons? You got Texans versus the Rams. How will the CJ Stroud redemption tour start in year 3? Baltimore versus Buffalo. Can Lamar Jackson win a big game? And then Minnesota versus Chicago. The Chicago Bears, new look coaches. with Caleb Williams versus J.J. McCarthy. Those are some of the main storylines for each. That's the main storyline for each game going into this one. That's at least, just a quick overview of the storylines, how I think it's going to pan out. But we will see. You had Straight to the Point Sports ENT stop by us by What Up. Thanks for stopping by in the chat. So with that being said, that's all I got for you guys for today. So I appreciate you guys stopping by. We got my predictions down for where I see each team finishing in the standings. We'll see how it holds up by the end of the season, which takes age well, which takes don't. We'll also have to, so we'll see about that. We'll see who wins and loses these games. And speaking of these games, later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, NFL season is right around the corner, which means the return of NFL Pick'ems exclusively on the Hardcore Sports Network is back. This year, your boy Nicky Steez is going to be the host again. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, starting September 2nd to preview Week 1. Each week on the Pick'ems, we'll have a full list of games, special guests, injury reports, debates, predictions, and hot takes for the week. All on NFL Pick'ems, exclusively on the Hardcore Sports Network, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every Tuesday throughout the NFL season. That's right, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, Week 1 of NFL Pick'ems. Be going through each game, giving my picks for each game. That's later tonight. So with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this stream. Until next time, it's your boy Nicky Steez signing off. Be back at 8 p.m. exclusively on the Hardcore Sports Network for the first episode of Pick'ems of the season. Episode 25, the 3-Point Blitz, will be back recapping Week 1 on Tuesday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we'll catch you then. So with that being said, guys, hope you enjoyed this. For now, it's your boy Nicky Steez signing off. Catch you later.